is in the eye of the beholder. But science is not. Science is not in the eye of the beholder. I mean, you just run up against fact.
It's interesting ever since Omic entered the conversation. The body positivity movement seems to have faded into the background, and honestly, it always felt a little Orwellian. Calling obesity body positivity was a contradiction from the start. The idea that you can be healthy at any weight was never empowerment. It was denial dressed up as progress.
It is interesting, now that we have Ozempic, I hear much less about the body positivity movement, which was always Orwellian. It was always Orwellian to say that being fat was body positivity. It is the exact opposite, or this bullshit about how you could be healthy at any...
Went straight for the jugular, tearing apart the woke mob's double standard on obesity. Not long ago, suggesting that someone overweight should eat better or exercise was enough to get you branded fatephobic and cancelled. Social media was full of influencers glorifying bad habits under the banner of body positivity, while the loudest activists applauded people staying stuck in unhealthy lifestyles. But now, the same crowd is scrambling to grab Ozempic prescriptions to slim down overnight. Body positivity was never about empowerment. It was a hollow slogan, a feel-good scam pushed by the woke left.
The reality is that people throughout time have an idea of classical standards of beauty. And in our case, in our civilization, there have been an American standard of beauty that actually reflects what people want. And so,
well, fat was in at a time. You can see it in the paintings, but it's when people were poor and food was,
It's not a
that's right. And in certain cultures, like the Pacific Islander cultures, there's different cultural ramifications. But the reality is that more people would rather be, petite, trim, low body fat than be 500 pounds. And I think that's what
maybe
Ozempic
in your white
proves.
world, but I mean that's not.
Being overweight is tied directly to poor health. Biology doesn't care about race, culture, or political correctness. It's universal. The math is simple. If you consistently take in more fuel than your body burns, the excess becomes fat. And fat doesn't just sit there, it strains your heart, crushes your joints, and overloads your organs. Over time, it lays the groundwork for diabetes, heart disease, and a shorter lifespan. Health isn't a cultural preference. It's biological reality. Denying it doesn't make it less true, it just makes it more dangerous.
From the U.S. will perform at a festival in Saudi Arabia next month. I saw the poster. Wow. Some friends of mine. What does this suggest about how liberals view the country now? Yeah, I mean, some big names. I mean, Whitney Cummings is going over there. I think Bill Burr, Louis C.K. are performing in Saudi Arabia. Wow. I mean, who's going? Is my question.
It seems high risk. It seems like the thing that might end in a public beheading if you say the wrong thing.
I don't think
I would keep the jokes right within the lines. Yeah.
I don't think this is about politics and how they see Saudi Arabia. I think this is about this.
Oh, it is?
Yeah. How much are they being paid?
Saudi Arabia knows how to bribe. They did it with sports. Now they're doing it with comedy?
Yeah.
Wow.
Political principles tend to go out the window when there's enough money on the table.
Maybe Colbert get a job.
That's liberalism in a nutshell, loud and righteous about sacred principles until money shows up. And then those principles disappear quicker than a campaign promise. Hypocrisy isn't a bug in the system, it's the brand. And here's the kicker. We're talking about a country where saying the wrong thing on stage isn't just career-ending, it could literally cost you your head. Yet these so-called fearless comics have no problem cashing checks from regimes that jail dissenters and muzzle critics, all while lecturing the rest of us about morality. Sure, Saudi Arabia has rolled out reforms, women driving, concerts, cinemas, but let's not kid ourselves. At its core, it's still deeply conservative, and stepping out of line carries brutal consequences. But for liberals chasing paydays, those risks don't matter. When the money talks.
Remember this, when President Trump ran for office the first time, his big chant at the rally was "lock her up." I was a little bit like, this seems a little extreme, not sure how I feel about this, but after he won, he said something very interesting. He said, that was a campaign thing, Hillary's fine, we're gonna all move on. And he didn't actually seek to prosecute his political opponents. But now, over the last 10 years, we've had Russiagate, we've had investigations, we've had indictments, we've had arrests, we've had the mugshot, we'd have a bullet through it.
Rufo's on to something big here, and it's not just theory, it's strategy. He argues Trump should directly confront his political enemies, the entrenched Democrat power players. And he's right. In his first term, Trump played it straight, focusing on policy instead of retribution. The payoff? endless investigations, phony scandals, and non-stop persecution that hounded him from day one. The lesson is obvious. Restraint doesn't earn respect in Washington, it invites attack. Rufo's message is brutally simple. Trump must hold his opponents accountable, not out of vengeance, but to prove that no one is above the law, and political office isn't a shield for corruption. That's not revenge, it's justice.
You've all been told that you can have it all, and you're a queen and a lady boss and that bitch. But maybe your judgy ass is no prize either. And if you jilt a guy for not thinking enough about Black Lives Matter, just tell me this. What have you actually done that made any more of a difference in any black life than what your inadequate ex-fiancé did? I asked Senator Adam Schiff here last week when the subject of Trump's sliding poll numbers came up. Okay, but how are the Democrats going to blow it this time? This is how. Posturing, purity tests, the politics of I unfriend you if you're not exactly with me 1,000%.
That you're a queen, a lady boss, and meanwhile, Democrats are fumbling away their chance to lead this country. Again, the reason is as predictable as ever: moral grandstanding. Instead of offering real solutions, they climb on their pedestals and preach down to the rest of us. It's a tired act, they just can't quit. Their favorite hobby: alienating half the country that won't bow to their radical woke agenda. Ordinary Americans who care about jobs, security, and stability get painted as villains simply for refusing to parrot progressive talking points. And rather than learning from past defeats, Democrats double down, lecturing, shaming, and dividing. The result: they're wasting the very chance to regain power. You'd think after 2016 and 2020 they'd learn, but no, alienation and arrogance remain their campaign strategy.
How do you define wokeness? Because I hear people use the term all the time, and it means something different to everybody.
Well, again, I think it's this collection of ideas that are not building on liberalism, but very often undoing it. I mean, 5 years ago, Abraham Lincoln was not a controversial figure among liberals. We liked him. Now they take his name off schools and tear down his statues. Really? Lincoln isn't good enough for you? 5-10 years ago, bedrock liberalism was we are striving to be a colorblind society where we don't see race. Of course, we see it, but it doesn't matter. That's not what woke is. Woke is something very different. It's identity politics. We see it all the time. It's always the most important thing. I don't think that's liberalism. I mean, I could mention so many issues like that.
Bill Maher doesn't just take shots at woke culture, he explains why he's fighting it head on. For him, this isn't about politics. It's about saving common sense in a culture that's slipping away from reality. Maher argues that woke ideology doesn't just irritate people, erodes the foundations of society. It swaps truth for dogma, reason for outrage, and merit for identity. Politics, at its core, it's anti-common sense, demanding people deny basic facts just to look virtuous. And when a culture chooses lies over logic, collapse is inevitable. That's why Maher calls it dangerous. It destroys trust, divides communities, and poisons public discourse. His warning is blunt: if we don't push back, the woke agenda won't just annoy us, it will tear apart the very fabric of society.
There's a certain amount of cult followers for anything, and then the true believers never die. I mean, a lot of people would say right now the Democratic Party is still in that mode, which is going to render them possibly an irrelevant party if they don't change.
What would you like to see from the Democrats, like, going forward?
Well, much more centrism, much more get rid of the woke baggage, old school liberal is what I usually describe myself as. But that's very often the opposite of woke. Woke would like people to believe that there's some sort of an extension of liberalism, but they're not.
Maher is right, the Democratic Party is marching straight toward irrelevance. Without a serious course correction, collapse into political oblivion is only a matter of time. History is littered with once powerful parties that rose on energy and promise, but crumbled because they refused to adapt or address real concerns. Democrats are walking that same doomed path, clinging to ideological purity and woke theatrics instead of tackling kitchen table issues like the economy, security, and healthcare. Contrast that with Trump. When parts of his strategy failed, he didn't double down, he recalibrated, sharpened his message, and fought his way back to power. That's the difference between survival and extinction in politics. Adaptability. If Democrats can't shed their arrogance and face reality, Maher's warning won't just be commentary.
The thought leaders in the Democratic Party keep encouraging and not rebuking the idea that America is cringe and the people who run Gaza are great. The Democrats are doomed. Alyssa Slotkin's right. Liberals are weak and woke, especially the white ones, and they indulge all sorts of nonsense from their kids, a pattern that then continues on in the Democratic.
Spineless and hopelessly enslaved to woke ideology, they can't stand on anything they claim to believe. Because the moment those beliefs are tested, their entire platform collapses like a house of cards. Even their most cherished policies crumble under real-world scrutiny. Push just a little, and the contradictions spill out, leaving them exposed and embarrassed. This is exactly why Bill Maher warns the party is heading toward extinction. A party that can't defend its own ideas, that hides behind moral posturing instead of offering practical solutions, has no long-term future. Maher sees it clearly. When your foundation is built on virtue signaling instead of common sense, the clock is ticking. Unless Democrats rediscover backbone and reality, they're not just losing ground, they're erasing themselves.
It was all the gender stuff, the insistence that men can have babies and such, and now I fear that we like the terrorists is the new that. Liberals need to push back on the dumb ideas that come from their children.
It's almost laughable how seriously the woke crowd treats their kids like children are fountains of wisdom instead of, well, children. They elevate teenagers with zero life experience into moral authorities and treat temper tantrums as if they're groundbreaking philosophy. By that logic, adults are supposed to sit back, take notes, and let TikTok shape policy. It's parenting turned upside down and politics warped beyond recognition. No wonder the Democratic Party is in chaos. When your guiding principles come from adolescent outrage and social media soundbites, your policies are destined to collapse under the weight of reality. Instead of leaning on science, history, or experience, they outsource decision-making to kidsand, then act shocked when it all unravels. Maher's point couldn't be clearer. A movement that worships youthful ignorance over common sense is headed for disaster. The Democrats are sabotaging themselves with woke posturing, hollow moral grandstanding, and policies that crumble under scrutiny. They alienate half the country, collapse under pressure, and refuse to learn from history. And history is brutal. That can't adapt fade into irrelevance. Maher isn't just mocking them, he's warning them. Unless Democrats wake up, their so-called progressive future ends in political extinction. And that wraps up today's video. If you enjoyed it, hit the like button and subscribe for more. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.